So, Mr. Gheorghiu, today we see another champion, world
Yeah,
champion.
we see one of the best champions from that period, Boris Spassky. I mean, he was a fantastic player also, even if he lost against Fischer. But in that time, Spassky was considered the best Soviet player, and it was right. So, I mean, he was very, very strong. And we show here a few games from the younger Spassky. I mean, from that period before
World
he
champion.
was world champion. Yeah.
So here against
This
Taimanov.
one, the first one is against Taimanov, and Spassky with white played normal position from Spanish opening, and the small surprise was that his opponent played e5 against e4. Normally, he played only Sicilians and Taimanov, most of the games. But here it was a little bit unusual because this line with knight a5 very quick is a little bit unusual. It's not bad, but is not the most usual variation played by black, And here after d4, knight takes b3, takes, and f6. Well, it's possible to play like this. Black can even play bishop b7 immediately. It's not too bad. But f6, is a normal move here in that line. Instead of knight c3 first, white can play immediately c4, and after c4, bishop b7, knight c3 is a little bit more active. It was played by Fischer himself, and it's very good for white, at the Olympiad in Havana also. But okay, knight c3 is also a normal line, and bishop b7, knight h4. All right, and after knight h4, knight e7. Here, white took, instead of taking, very sharp is also this line with f4 immediately. Instead of d takes e5, white can take can play f4, provoking a very sharp line where black can try to take a piece, like this, the pawn in d4 and the pawn in e5. Here, immediately f4. And after f4, after taking in f4, bishop takes f4, g5. Very, very sharp, you see. But it's possible. It's possible to play like this also. Here, queen h5 check. And here, king d7, queen g4 check again. Now he can't castle anymore, King back, and now e5, very, very sharp. White gives a piece for very strong initiative. It's not clear, but it's probably okay for white, So it was recommended by Tal afterwards,
Okay.
Yeah, it was possible, but it was very, very sharp, you see. So, okay. Instead, he took, more positional like this. He took in e5. Now he took with d, and now queen f3. Well, the idea for white is to put a piece somehow in f5 or in d5. And then white is all right. So black doesn't accept this immediately, and he played first the queen from d8 to d7. The idea is to put the queen in e6, defending the position like this very well. So, all right, rook d1, queen e6. Well, up until now, everything is okay. And bishop e3. Everything is very normal until now, you see. And here, instead of playing a normal line with g6 or something, white is better anyway, a little bit, but you don't have to take too many chases, like in that game, you see. g5 is a very provoking move, very sharp. And now white has to play something very quickly, because otherwise black is very well. If you allow him a few moves, black is all right. So knight takes b5. From here, everything is forced from this position after g5. Well, he gives a piece. It's good. The sacrifice is all right. Now black can take in b5, of course, because if he doesn't take, if he takes in h4, he loses immediately. After knight takes e7, you lose the queen, you see, with black. So
Yes.
So you have to accept. So now check, no? So again, he has to play like this, you see. Well, the alternative is instead of queen f7, knight g6. Well, knight g6. Now rook takes a8, check. Bishop takes. No, the other rook. Yeah, the other rook takes. Yeah, takes. Takes in g6, and now queen f7. And after queen f7, black is lost after queen g4. Queen g4. And when you take in g6, queen c8, check and finished. You know. Yeah. So all right, this is not possible. All right. So therefore, it's forced, more or less forced. Now check, and now queen f7. And after queen f7, takes, and now very nice, rook d8 check. Okay, white wins the piece, wins the queen, but black has, some pieces for the queen. It's not so easy. So now he takes in h4, and we look at the position. Black has rook and 2 pieces against queen and some pawns,
Yeah.
So normally the position must be very complicated, but here, because the position is very open, white is better, If he can take another pawn or 2 pawns, e5 and b5, for instance, white is clearly better, even in such a position. So therefore, the continuation is very nice. So he takes there, rook g8. Now f3, very good. Now f3 is very good because the bishop diagonal must be closed, If the bishop is open, then it's dangerous for white, But like this, with f3 is all right. So now h3, g3, of course. Now black's idea is to attack somehow the pawn from f3, maybe, somehow, if he has a good chance. So therefore, the position is interesting as everything is more or less forced, you see. So king e8, yeah. He took another pawn. Well, now what to do? Rook g6 must have some activity, So takes the other pawn with check. Now white has has many pawns, you see. So again check, and now king f7, and he took the other pawn. So he took every pawn until now. But now at least the black pieces play a little bit, they can play a little. So rook f6, he attacks the pawn. He has a small hope to have counterplay, So of course, bishop g5, very strong. Now it's unpleasant for black because it seems that if he takes in f3, he loses again something, So therefore, the position is bad,
Yeah.
So he has to move the rook. But where? Rook e6. Now, the idea was like this. For instance, here, rook takes f3, Rook takes f3, bishop takes e7, bishop takes e7, queen takes e6. And now the idea, bishop g5. So if he has time to threaten a check in e3, is very good for black. But here white is going immediately, queen d7 check, king somewhere, and he loses the pawn from h3, and it's finished. So therefore, it's okay for white, So right, so he has to move the rook. Okay, he moves the rook, and now has time to come with the pawn. Finally, these pawns from the queen side, are very dangerous and will decide very quickly. You see. So what to do? He has to move something to be able to he's pinned some everywhere. You see. So now queen b8, very good again. So knight g6 and king f2 first. So now the knight there in the center and b5. No, it starts. Comes very quickly, you see. So, therefore, everything is more or less forced. So now bishop e3 threatens bishop c5, He wants to come to c5 later on, if he has time. So bishop d6, yeah. Queen c8 attacks the rook, king there, and now he pushes the pawn. Again, everything is forced until the end, you see. Well, now it's very clear why and how, but it's beautiful until the end. How can he realize very quickly the advantage? And now bishop d7, and now, of course, very simple but beautiful, b7, no? b7. Now what to do? Bishop d6, he took, and queen,
Another queen.
It's okay. He took, and now he took in e5, and black resigned. Now it's clear the queen is very powerful, and now and had too many pawns. It's completely winning for white.
Yes.
So the whole game was very interesting, but maybe it was a little bit too much. This opening idea from Taimanov, I mean, he forced a little bit too much with black, and he gave this tactical possibility for white, to play like this. Everything was forced, and everything was okay for white, I mean, if he played some other move, maybe the result would be different, or maybe the whole game will be different.
So
But
the sacrifice of
the sacrifice in b5 was very good,
Yeah.
So it was forced,
in order to open
to open everything,
Yes.
because you see the king in e8 was weak,
Exposed.
so they're exposed, and therefore everything was possible. All kind of tactical tricks were possible because of this.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Gheorghiu.
You're welcome.